I'm on my way to the cinema for a secret screaming screening. So basically, no idea what the movie's going to be. All I know it's going to be a horror movie, and I'm hoping it's a sort of newer one that hasn't come out yet, one I haven't seen, like Good Boy, Shelby Oaks, Black Phone 2 maybe. But then again, it could be something classic. For one of The Exorcist is going to pop up on the screen, and we won't know until we sit down and the movie starts. That's when you know that the film's going to start. So I'm really looking, I've gone all dark. I'm really looking forward to seeing what's on that screen. Right, check this out. There's a full moon up there tonight. That's got to be a symbol, isn't it? Oh, mate, it's a werewolf movie. So yeah, looking forward to it. Let's hope it's something good. Right, so the movie I got to see at the Secret Screamings event at Cineworld was Good Boy. And I was really happy because this is the movie I've really wanted to see for a while. I saw the trailer, and all I've heard is people that saw like advanced screenings, or I think it was shown at a film festival. People that saw those screenings at these film festivals said it was a great film, like better than what they expected, and were blown away by it. So I was really appreciated that that was the film we got. Now, you kind of had clues to it leading up to it, because apparently on Cineworld's website they put out like it could be Black Phone 2, and it's like, well, if they're going to say that, it's not going to be Black Phone 2. And then when before the film started, obviously you get the trailers leading up to it, and the first trailer was Shelby Oaks. So I was like, it's not going to be that. They're not going to advertise a movie before the movie itself, so you kind of knew it wasn't going to be that. Then it was like a film called The Keeper, which I'd not even heard of. It starred the girl that was She-Hulk, the obviously She-Hulk girl, and she was in it, and it's her and her husband, and sang about they'd like different sides to the story, so he gets her side and his side, and then it's like who's the baddie one by the looks of it, and that looked a bit interesting, but I never even heard that one, so I'm going to watch that one. So I knew it wasn't going to be that one. And then the last trailer they showed was Black Phone 2, so I was like, it's obviously not going to be that either. And the only one I could rationally think of, the one I predicted anyway, was Good Boy. And lucky for me, it was Good Boy, because as I said, it's a film I've really wanted to see. I was quite interested in Good Boy because it sounds like quite different. So the title card bit comes up, it says it's going to be Good Boy, and it says about the blood, which all that sort of stuff, all the little warnings on it. But as that come up, two people that sort of sat down there from me stood up, walked out, and left. So also they did not want to see this movie. So either they've seen it already somehow, and they didn't want to sit for it again, or they just don't like the idea of the movie. Maybe they're animal lovers, they're worried about the dog dying. It's like the one film they don't want to watch or whatever. Because obviously that's the one question. When this trailer dropped, the big question that everyone was asking was, does the dog die? And it's like one of those, well, you kind of like, oh God, like say about dogs dying in films. Like the movie I Am Legend. This is a spoiler for I Am Legend, by the way. In the movie I Am Legend, Will Smith dies at the end. You're like, oh, end of the film, that's sad, whatever. When the dog dies, your heart breaks in that film. Like when that dog fights off the other ones and then gets infected and then dies in his arms, that breaks your heart. He dies at the end, you barely care. So that's how a dog dying will affect people in movies. There's actually websites out there called Does the Dog Die in This, where if you're watching a film, there's a dog in it, and you're like, oh my God, I don't want the dog to die. You can go on the website to check if it dies or not. So obviously dogs in movies are a big thing. So that was a big thing. So maybe that was what happened with this couple in the cinema. They were like, I don't want to watch it because of that. And they left. Fair enough. And I don't know if they can get their money back, because obviously this film was a surprise movie. So you don't know what you're going to get. The whole point is you're gambling on what the film's going to be. So I don't know if they'll be allowed their money back. And I don't know how long into a movie that you can leave and ask for your money back. I don't know how that works. I've never done it myself, so I'm just wondering. If you know, please put in the comments just so I know. If there's like a time period, like a 20-minute, and then if you can't come out for 20 minutes, maybe you get your money back. I don't know. But anyway, let me know in the comments. I'm quite curious of that. Anyway, so Good Boy. It's a film that is literally done is aimed. How do I say it? Because some people have said the perspective of the dog, but it's not in the perspective of the dog. The star of the movie is the dog. So the film is concentrating on the dog. The whole way through the movie, you're either looking at the dog, or you're seeing what the dog's reacting to, or you're seeing the dog emote a lot of emotion. the whole film is not the people in the movie. The people are secondary characters in this movie. The dog is the star. So the whole film is following this dog, watching what the dog's doing, what's the dog afraid of, what is the dog looking at. That's essentially the movie. And it's a great idea and a great concept. And they chose a really good dog to do this with, because the dog is an amazing actor. This dog makes you feel every emotion that dog is going through. It's like you can sense everything this dog is like seeing and feeling. The fear. This dog shows fear so well. This dog deserves an Oscar, because I think I got more emotional range from this dog watching this movie than I have half the Hollywood actors in years. Like, the only other film I could say got me as emotional as maybe this one was Long Walk. The end of Long Walk, I was like blubbering like a wreck, because it was like, oh my God, what? So if you haven't seen Long Walk, I really suggest you go and watch Long Walk and try to avoid spoilers, because the ending is brilliant and you're in bits by the end of it. So please go and watch Long Walk, but try and avoid spoilers. I have done a review on Long Walk. Don't watch it because I talk spoilers. Anyway, I'll watch it when you finish watching anyway. But yeah, so like, we're a nation of animal lovers, right? I mean, I've got a dog. I love dogs. I always have liked dogs. And I like how dogs, you kind of humanize dogs. And this film does a good job of that, because you're literally watching this dog. You're worried for the dog. You want to know what's going to happen. The dog, you kind of put yourself in the dog's place in parts of this film. You're thinking, run, dog. Like, you get out there, dog. Leave. Just go. Leg it. Like, you're like that with the dog. Like, come on, dog. And you're not doing it with the human side people, because you care more about the dog. It's a great feeling that you get that. So what is the film about? The film is about a guy who's poorly and he has his dog. And he decides he's going to go move into his granddad's house, because his granddad died a few years back. I know we don't actually know the time period, but his granddad died. He wants to go move into that house. He's been feeling poor. He's not been well. He's been in a hospital. Comes out and him and his dog goes to the house. And the rest of the film is him and his dog in this house, and the dog noticing there's something wrong in the house. Like, there's something weird. There's stuff happening. If you've seen the trailers, you know there's stuff moving that shouldn't be there. It's like as if the house is haunted or something like that. So that is the premise of the movie. Now, I'll say the negatives of the movie is this film was not made to be on a big screen. So I don't know if it was just my screen or whatever, but the lighting, it didn't seem like, not only that you backlight things to make it look brighter in the film, it felt like it wasn't backlit enough, as if the movie wasn't made to be on a big screen, so it didn't have enough oomph to it to give it the colour things. I'd also say, like, the sound sounded a bit tinny for me as well. It wasn't made for like surround sound cinemas, because the story goes that this movie was only ever supposed to turn up on Shudder, maybe do like 1 or 2 screenings here and there, like one showing at a certain cinema, but it was generally going to go straight to Shudder, the horror streaming service. Only when the trailer dropped for Good Boy, so many people were talking about it and so many people wanted to see it, they were like, well, we're missing out on a big chunk of money here, so they threw it into the cinema for like a proper release, which they weren't ready for. So I'm guessing the film wasn't touched up for a big screen, if you know what I mean. So it didn't have that oomph that a big screen film has. When you watch a big screen, you see all the colour and all the... This was quite bland on the screen, and it felt like it was too big, like it was meant for a smaller screen. So I'm quite looking forward to when it does come on telly. It comes on telly when it comes on like a streaming service, that I can watch it on the streaming service and see it in that smaller environment, because I think it'll work better in that environment than it did on the big screen. Which, it is sad that was the situation that happened. I felt that as I was watching, because I kind of got distracted by a little bit. I was like, this don't feel right, like watching this film. Positives, like, not a bad story. I thought the ending was really good as well. I'm not going to get into that yet. We'll get into spoilers in a bit. When I get into spoilers, I'll tell you I'm doing spoilers, and then I'll put like a little sign somewhere around to tell you it's going to be spoiler talk. But yeah, it was very much a movie where I was like, I wanted to know what happened. So from start to finish of this movie, I was kind of like, what's going to happen now? What's going to happen? And to be honest with you, not a lot happens via like dialogue. I mean, you find out quite cleverly the backstory of the house and the relationship with the family and all that through conversation, but all the conversations are kind of done away from the dog, so you're hearing them in the background almost. So I don't know if you ever played a game. It was on the Wii called, I think it was either Fierce Creatures or Deadly Creatures or something, where you played a tarantula and a scorpion, and you were sort of walking around the desert. But there was this sort of side story going on where you kept bumping into these bank robbers that had stolen from a bank, and they were sort of discussing stuff. And occasionally, you'd sort of like, they'll be digging a hole in a desert to bury something, and you just sort of as a spy be wandering around fighting other bugs and stuff. But you'd hear them talking, and it would build up this story of this bank robbery that had gone wrong and all that stuff. Nothing to do with what you're doing in the game, but it was just something to listen to as you were walking around hunting bugs and fighting off other animals and rats and stuff. And in the end of the game, you end up in like the house of these robbers, and the robbers are trying to kill you because you're a creep crawler they don't want to kill, and you're sort of fighting back against these robbers. So it's a weird game, but you kind of, that's how they feel they gave you the story in Good Boy, that you heard it in the distance. So you could hear two people on the phone having a conversation, or you'd hear a neighbour talking to the guy about stuff. So that was how you kind of learnt the story of the backstory of the house and stuff like that, which was quite cleverly done. I think it was quite cleverly done. So the dog could still be doing what it was doing. So you see the dog wandering around the house, looking at the stairs, going over here, going over there. And as it's doing that, and you're following the dog, you can hear the people talking, and you're hearing more about the story of the house and stuff. So that I thought was really clever. And as I said, the dog is a great actor. I mean, this dog wouldn't be able to do that. This dog's an idiot, and he wouldn't be able to do any of what that dog was doing on that screen. But I mean, if you are an animal person, if you've got dogs, even if you've got cats, but dogs especially can emote human expression almost. So you know when a dog's scared by looking at its face, because their face just changes, and you know when they're happy by looking at their face. And this dog does that times 10. So that when the dog looks afraid in this movie, you feel that fear. You become, like, not become the dog, but you feel everything that dog is feeling, because the dog is like, literally the camera's just showing the dog's face, and you're like, God, that dog's terrified. Oh my God, I hope that dog's gonna be okay. And that human instinct to protect a dog kicks in, and you just feel like this is a mental movie. So we are going to go spoilers now. So if you haven't seen the movie, please switch off, come back later when you do see it. If you don't care about spoilers, hang around. You might want to know what happens to the dog, so you know before you go into it. And also, if you have seen it and you want to hear my take on it, and then in the comments, like, tell me what you think about it, so that'd be interesting to know as well. Before we get into spoilers now, just a quick little thing. I'm running the London Marathon this year, and I'm doing it for an amazing charity. They're called the Ashford and Tennyson Umbrella. They're a mental health charity, do great work for the mental health community. And I'm kind of looking for donations for the charity, because when you run the London Marathon, you do it for charity, and like, you need to get donations. This charity needs some good donations to continue the good work they're doing. So there'll be a link in the description below about that. If you want to donate to the charity, I'll be really grateful if you did that. And if you can, just follow a little link in there, and please donate what you can. But yeah, that's a little side bit anyway. So anyway, back to Good Boy. So yeah, Good Boy. So start of the film, you get the owner is sick. And I'll be honest, the start of the film really creeped me out, because you've got the dog laying in the bed. There's a teddy doing the whole poltergeist staticky thing. And you've got the dog sort of sitting there, wakes up. The dog's looking at the corner of the room, like it's looking over there at the corner of the room. There's nothing there. And you can see someone sort of sitting behind the dog like this. And it's all in shadow, because the one thing as well, you never see until the very, very end of the movie the faces of the adults in the film. And that reminded me of like the old Tom and Jerry cartoons. Remember when you had like the woman that owned the house? Obviously her dog was Thomas. He was always trying to chase Jerry around, wasn't he? But you never saw the owner. She was this woman. She was like, Thomas, Thomas. But you only ever sort of saw her from here down. Or you saw her legs. You never saw her face. But she'd be like, Thomas, Thomas, trying to chase him around the thing. And that reminded me, when I was watching it, I thought, that's what it reminds me of. You don't see the face. You see like them from here. You might see them from a distance. Their face is kind of blurred out. The guy's got long hair, so his hair's sometimes in his face. And you don't see it until the very end of the movie. And I thought that was a great little thing, because I was like, oh, I like that. Because then I was thinking, oh, is it going to be someone like mega famous at the end? We're going to find out it's like Tom Cruise or something, you know? That's what I thought was going to happen. It wasn't Tom Cruise. It wasn't anyone I'd recognised from anything. But it was still like, a great little thing. So I was like, why are they not showing us his face? Why have we not seen anyone's faces? Like we saw his sister at one point, but again, don't see her face. You see a neighbour, don't see his face. Anyway, back to the plot. So you see this guy sitting like this. And then suddenly you see like coughing up blood and the phone's ringing, like his mobile phone's ringing. Next thing you know, the sister bursts through the door, gets into a hospital. Turns out it's the owner and he's sick. He's got like, we're guessing cancer. I mean, we never really get told, but it's something not good that he's gone to the hospital for. He's in the hospital for a bit and you get a little flashback of the dog. You see the dog as a puppy and getting older and older and older. And then like you see him come out of the hospital, meets his dog, he's playing with the dog and stuff. And then you see that he's moving into his granddad's house because his grandfather has passed away. He's obviously left him a house and he's going up there and he hears a conversation with the sister and she's like, well, why are you going up there? It's dodgy, it's not great, it's like, it's creepy, it's haunted, it's possibly cursed. And this is where you find bits about the backstory. So during conversations you get this backstory that like, and the dog's sitting in the car the whole time. The dog keeps looking out the window and they do a lot of this where the dog's looking at something but there's nothing there for us to see. But the dog is staring at like out the back window as this conversation's going on. And it's like, what has he seen? And you're looking like, what is that? And again, I don't have to do the screen, being the cinema screen, but you kind of like, you're trying to focus yourself, like, what is he looking at? And it just looks at it for ages. And then you hear the conversation about the house possibly being haunted, how it drove, the granddad possibly died out there somewhere, no one really knows how. All this random stuff. And then you find out like, sort of like that he had a dog, but they never found the dog. Like they found the granddad's body, but never found the dog's body, that sort of thing. And you find more and more stuff out as it goes on. So he then gets to the house. The house seems generally alright. There's a lot of taxidermy stuff in there, a bit creepy, a bit Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but you know, it's not that bad. And it's a nice little house. They're sort of in the house, and the dog instantly, as soon as the dog's in there, he gets left on his own when the guy goes to turn the generator on. You can see the dog is already creeped out. And the dog is sensing stuff, because they say dogs sense paranormal stuff. Well, I don't believe that sort of stuff, but they say dogs sense this paranormal stuff and creepy atmosphere and vibes. And the dog is literally there like, and you're like, oh my God, you worry about the dog straight away. And then like the dog will see like a shadow or see something. So the rest of the film is generally the dog seeing weird shadow shapes and that. And then you start to see really weird stuff. So as the guy starts to get more sick again, because you think he's okay after he's come out of hospital, but he starts to get sick again, he coughs up blood a little bit and stuff like that. You start to see things. So first it's like noises, and the dog's like looking like that. He goes into like the loft and looks at a chair, and you can hear like a creaking on this chair. And the dog's just staring at this like blank space. Like, so imagine, I don't know what you can see, that blank space there. The dog's like staring at that, and there's a chair in front of it, like that's the chair. And you can hear like a creaking as if someone's sitting on that chair. You can't see it there, but you can hear it's like, it's one of those wicker chair things. And it's like something's creaking on the chair. And the dog's just staring. And then the owner comes up and says, like, what is it? He turns the light on, there's nothing there. But it's still sort of like the dog's just staring at this like bit. Because dogs do that. I mean, my dog does it. My previous dogs I've had, they just sort of stare at a wall and look at things. Like my dog's an idiot. We'll be walking him in the dark and he'll suddenly dart at something. And he thinks he's seen something, but there's nothing there. So it is how dogs are. They probably just see stuff and they try and focus it because their eyes aren't like ours, so they have to focus probably a bit differently than we do. So look at the state of him now. Look at him. Yeah. So the dog's in the house and he's spotting weird stuff, and slowly you see more and more weirder stuff. Like you keep seeing this. I can only describe it as like a mud man. Like it's like a man who keeps appearing, but he's like covered in mud. He's like made out of mud. And you see like the hand creep over to like muddy. It's almost like tar, like black sort of mud. And he's like, and you keep seeing sort of like in shadow form. You see him in other form, and this is like creeping you out. You're sort of waiting to see what's going to happen here. And then you get a scene where they're in the woods, and like he's walking his dog through the woods. They find this graveyard, and the owner's saying, like, oh, talking to the dog, he's going, oh look, these are all the bodies of my family. Like, he's like, people that died quite young, and you find out there's like been generations that have lived and died there. So it's like an ongoing, almost like a loop where like people have died in this house quite commonly by the looks of it, and there's always been like passed down through the generations. So it's kind of like a creepy thing anyway. It's in the graveyard, and then you come across this neighbour who like appears in shadow form behind them, and then you see him. He's like in camouflage gear. He's like a hunter. He's got a bow and arrow, and he says, he warns him, he says, look, there are a lot of, I trap foxes around here, so there's a lot of snares, so you need to be careful when you're going around here. If you've got your dog, you need to be careful, watch out. And he says that they found the dad's body, but they never found the thing and that. And you get a sense there's like a fox about as well, because the dog's looking in a log that's hollow, and you can see at the end of the dog, he's like his two little yellow eyes staring back at him, and you think, is that a demon? Is it a fox? Is it a ghost? What is it? Turns out it's a fox. We find out later. Anyway, so then they go home, but you start to notice that when they're home, that the owner, who adores his dog, he's constantly cuddling it, constantly giving it strokes, cuddles. He's starting to get a bit negative towards the dog. He's obviously going back and forth to the hospital, leaving the dog on its own in the house for a while to get more tests. He's had like blood test done on his arm. There's a really weird bit they don't go back to, where you see the blood like bandage on his arm. It looks like it's moving, like there's like maggots or something underneath it, but you don't see maggots. But you can see the bandage moving. And the dog's just staring like, what is that? And it goes back to an early conversation that he was having with his sister, where the sister's going like, have you like spoken about, has the dog noticed anything in you? Because you're worried that the dog will pick up on like cancer and things like that. Can the dog notice anything on you? And the dog's staring at this like patch on the arm, you can see it moving, so that's obviously there's something dodgy there. So then we get to sort of like the film. So the owner of the dog starts to get really negative against the dog. He starts pushing it out and doesn't want it to know it, and the dog's trying to give him like a cuddle like he normally does, and he's like, no. A lot of weird freaky stuff going on in the house still, and it's getting more and more freaky. It's all atmosphere. Sometimes you think something's going to happen and nothing happens, but you're on edge the whole time waiting for it to happen. It's like one of those type of films where you sort of like, oh, something's going to jump out, something's going to jump out. And then nothing jumps out, but it's the dog staring at a wall. There's a lot of, there's probably about 15 minutes worth of movie here where a dog just stares at a wall. And that's it. And we're watching a dog stare at a wall for about 15 minutes. And we're like, what's going to happen? And nothing happens. But you don't feel bad that you've spent like 15 minutes staring at dogs looking at a wall. You feel like tense the whole time. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And then nothing happens. But yeah, so we sort of lead on. So he's getting more and more sick, more and more poorly. And he's getting more negative to the dog. So he ends up like kicking the dog out of the bed. And the dog ends up sort of like there's a real freaky scene where the owner walks out of the bedroom into sort of like the hallway bit, and Saint jumps on him, and the dog goes to help him, and the door slams shut, and the dog can't get out. So then the dog jumps out the window, runs across the woods. So we're obviously trying to find the neighbour, like the dog's trying to go get the neighbour to help in the situation, and then the dog gets caught in a snare. And this is the bit that kind of annoyed me a little bit, because the dog gets caught in a snare, he's choking out, you can see he's about to pass out, and then you see like a shadowy figure coming over him. And I guess that was the neighbours found him in the snare, and he's took him out of the snare, and he's took him home. Next thing we see is Indy the dog's waking up, and she's got a chain around her neck, and she's in like a dog kennel outside, chained to that, so she can't get back in the house. The owner's like, you should have stayed still. And he walks in the house, ignores it, and then you see like weird shadowy figures in the windows and stuff. And this is what leads us to sort of like the climax of our movie now, because you've got the dog who's outside, knows something bad's happening in the house, can see the guy coughing up blood and stuff, and he's like really having a bad time in there. The dog wants to get in, then you get the weird ghost muck monster thing comes back, and he's like, you see him sort of grab the dog, pick the dog up, and then the dog goes down, and then the dog's in the kennel, and the muck monster comes out through the kennel, tries to grab him again, like coming up through the ground, trying to grab him, and he tries to run out, and then you see the muck monster's got the chain, putting the chain, the dog's getting more and more in. The dog then just like, I don't know what it does, it does some sort of super dog move where it runs into the kennel as hard as it can, hits the kennel hard, breaks where the chain's attached to it, and then runs off. Well, guess with the chain still around his neck, runs in. Then you see him sort of like trying to get into the house. He goes through the basement, and that's when when the basement doors open up by themselves, you see the dead body, the rotten dead body of the previous dog. Because that's what I forgot to tell you as well. Because you see the previous dog, kind of the ghost of the previous dog, trying to tell Indy about what happened before, and you see like almost like psychic flashes of what happened before, like the dog getting killed and stuff like this. It's really messed up. It's hard to sort of put into words what's going on in this film some points. So then the dog rushes, like he's trying to get through the basement and try and get up to the bloke, and the bloke's in his bedroom waking up, and then we see him for the first time. We see his face, and he's like, hello, who's that, and he's looking down the corridor like just the house really, and all the lights are going. He had these candles laid out, all the candles black one by one, and he's like, hello, who's that, Who's that? Because you can obviously knows there's someone there. Next thing you know, Indy comes bursting through. Now, this is the bit that kind of threw me again. Like, suddenly Indy doesn't have a chain on her neck. And the guy's like, how did you get in here? He's giving her cuddles and he's it's him, sorry, it's him. He's giving the dog cuddles. He's going, oh, how are you getting in? Stroking it like that. And then he turns round and in the bed is his dead body. So now we know the guy is a ghost. And you're like, whoa, like he's dead. And the dog is like communicating with the ghost. And he's like, oh my God, oh my God. Suddenly the muck monster thing comes out the thing again, grabs the chain, was on Indy now isn't, around his neck and starts dragging him away. Like, almost like, remember the film Ghost with Patrick Swayze? When the bad guys die, you get those weird like shadow things come out of the earth and grab like the baddies and drag them, like Willie Lopez his name was, and drags him away into hell, I guess. It was kind of like that. It comes out the shadows, this muck monster thing, it was like mud, black mud, puts the chain around the owner's neck and drags him, and the dog's trying to chase after him. It makes it get down to the basement where he gets dragged into, like, it's like a cave in the basement. So I'm guessing this is like a cursed thing. And he gets dragged into this cave in the basement, and the dog bolts in after him. And it all goes quiet and dark for a bit. And then you suddenly see the dog's like, with his mouth dragging something out. It's him out, but the guy's covered in mud now. And then and then suddenly you see like the muck demon thing come from the other side of the room. And Indy's there, and the guy is covered in, and you suddenly realise that the guy isn't just covered in mud, he has become mud. He's become one of these mud muck demon things. And he's like, Indy, it's too late for me. Just wait here. You can't save me. And then he goes back into this like cave, and then the other muck monster disappears. And Indy just sort of sits there and sits down. And then you realise that must have been what happened before. So when the granddad must have died, gone through, it's become a muck monster himself. It must be some weird family curse thing where they become muck monsters when they die in this house. And they go into this underground cave thing. So Indy just sits there, and you remember that the dog we saw earlier was in that same basement bit. So that dog must have sat there and died waiting for the owner to come back. The previous guy. So it all happens like a loop. It happens generation after generation. A guy with his dog, bloke dies, dog dies, waiting for the guy to come back. And you're like, oh no, now Indy's going to die, and you're panicking about it. And then you get like the next day, and the sister has obviously found the brother's body, and she goes into the basement, sees Indy, and then Indy, she goes, Indy, come on, Indy, come on. And Indy doesn't move at first. The dog does not move. And you're like, oh no, she's not going to go anywhere. And eventually it does go up to her and goes away. And then you see the credits roll, but then it says like good boys, and that's the end of the film. The credits roll, and the dog is just head out the car window as the sort of credits roll. It's only short credits as well. And I was like, oh, so the dog survives in it. So the dog lives. But again, I was like, oh, that wasn't a bad ending, but it wasn't enough. It had that cheap, straight to streaming, not, I wouldn't say B movie, but like indie horror movie. It had that vibe to it, and I was like, I wanted more from the ending. I was kind of like invested in it. It was like, oh, I didn't want the dog to die at all or get hurt at all, but I thought maybe the dog could save the day or something. But it kind of like left where the dog didn't save the day. The dog's okay. Like nothing bad happens to the dog and the world didn't end, but it was still, I wanted him to save the owner. I wanted the dog to have been that hero in it. He did try, but he just didn't save him. So you kind of like, oh crap. And then you sort of like, are they going to do a sequel? It's Indy and the girl, the sister, or her name was Vera, I think her name was, or Verona, something like that. Are they going to do that for a sequel? So it was like, oh. But I will say this film is also a very short film. Like, the screening started at 7:30. We had adverts, promotional stuff, then trailers, then 3 trailers. And then the movie started. And I was out of there at 9 o'clock. So it must have been an hour and 10 minutes, this movie. An hour and 15 maximum, this movie. Wasn't long movie at all. Because by the time the trailer finished, you're probably about 10 to 7:45 by the time all that's done. Probably more like nearly 8 o'clock. And then the film finished at 9. I was out at 9. So it wasn't a very long movie at all, but I don't think it needed to be. I think if they'd made it longer, it would have gone on, it would have been too much. But I said the things that kind of annoyed me was, where did the dog's chain go? Who took the chain off the dog? When the dog passed out, was it the owner that took him back? was it the neighbour that took him back? We don't see any more of that neighbour, so we don't know if it was him that saved him from the fox snare that took him back. Did he teleport back? We don't know. So we never got that. There's bits missing from the film. That's what I can say. So there's bits missing from it. But generally, did I enjoy? I did enjoy this movie. It was a movie. I think it's a watch once. I said I'll do watch it again on the small screen. I think the small screen it's going to be better. That's what I feel. I feel this is better for the small screen. And like, I don't know if it was big enough and colourful enough and made to be on that big screen. So it is quite sad that they didn't put it on the big screen. It wasn't made for the big screen. I think it would be better to watch the small screen. But it's not a film I'd watch over and over again. It's not like it's my new favourite horror movie or anything like that. It's good. It's worth a watch. It's enjoyable. But it's still... it wasn't the best film I've ever seen. It wasn't the best film I've seen this year. I get why people liked it, raved about it, I suppose, if it's the first time watching it. But I was kind of like... I feel I had high expectation for this movie. And it didn't live up to the expectation I'd put on the movie, if that makes sense. But I would definitely recommend watching it, but I would wait for streaming. Don't rush out to the cinema to see it. Wait for streaming. You're going to enjoy it, especially if you're a dog lover, you enjoy it. And yeah, it's worth a watch. I would just say it's worth a watch. It's not the best film in the world, but it's definitely worth a watch. I'm glad I saw it at a secret screening. Do I wish it was another film after watching it? Maybe. Then I'll probably feel that way with any film. Oh, I wish I'd tried to see that one. But now I know that I'm going to go and watch Black Phone 2 when it comes out at the cinema. I'm going to go watch that. What's it? That Shelby Oaks looks really good. I quite like the look at that one. So yeah, so there's going to be some good films to go and watch anyway. But I'm happy I saw this film because it is a film I did want to see after seeing the trailer for it and hearing about it and all the good stuff about it. And it didn't live up to the hype that it's got, but it was still well worth a watch. And it did make me want to come home and give this dog a cuddle. It really did. It made me kind of feel like, oh, my dog. It's a weird feeling. But no, I will give props to that dog. That dog does deserve some sort of award somehow. I don't know how they do it, but it does deserve saying. It definitely deserves a big bowl of treats, that's for sure. Alright, guys, I hope you enjoyed watching this. As I said, I am doing that London Marathon, so if you could donate something, please, it'll be in the link in the descriptions and all that. And let me know what you thought of this film. If you've watched this film, did you go to the secret screening? Did you go to the old Secret Scream Cineworld event? Did you see something? I'm guessing we all saw the same film because it was all happening at the same time in the Cineworld. So I'm guessing we all saw the same film. Did you think it was good? Did you enjoy it? Was you happy with that one? Did you want it to be something else? Would you prefer it to be like a random older movie like The Exorcist or something like that? Would you prefer something like that to come on the screen? Yeah, let me know what you thought of Good Boy. If you watched Good Boy, let me know what you thought of it. Did you enjoy Good Boy? Do you think it lived up to the hype you'd heard about before you saw it? Did you think the dog was amazing in it? Because the dog was the best actor in it by far. At some points, I actually thought, is it really their voices? Because it felt like the voices, that's another negative of the film. It felt like the actors' voices were voiced over the top. Like it wasn't their voice, like they were dubbed in a way. It just felt like they wasn't speaking when they were speaking. Like it was all being dubbed over the top. I don't know, like it was a foreign film. It kind of had that film. It had that foreign film vibe, that it was a foreign film and they was dubbing voice over the top because you couldn't see their faces, you couldn't see their mouths moving, so you couldn't. But even the girls, it's a weird thing. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you guys soon. I hope you enjoyed this review, and give your dogs a good stroke after you've seen this film because you do feel love for your dogs, don't you? Anyway, guys, see you soon. Bye. And subscribe if you want to see more.